There will be some stuff shared here today that I've never spoken to anyone about, so stay tuned. I got out bowled and LBW very often. If you are one of those guys, maybe just have a look at your blade at the back before you bat and make sure you keep it out to first or second slip. Should be pointing more or less there. Someone like Hashim Amla was a lot more extreme. He would take his bat completely out to point. Even a Steve Smith, similar, and then get back into play. And I much rather prefer that, because that's an easier way to find the right line. Personally for me, the secret was in my right grip, right wrist rather. I would always enjoy feeling my right wrist on my hip, and that got it into a very consistent position in order for me, see, I don't even have to look back. I know my bat is pointing to first or second slip by purely just keeping this right hand on my hip. That is tip number one. Make sure your hands are close to your body, not too tight. You don't want to be intense. You want to still be relaxed, but look at that. Just by putting this right hand on my hip right there, almost got my bat always in the perfect position, pointing at first slip. You always hear people talking about a high left elbow. Now to me, I figured out over the years that my right forearm is the important one. Yes, your left elbow should be high, but to me, the right forearm needed to come down and stay connected with the blade. So look at this. When driving, look at my right forearm and my blade. Very close together. There's not a big gap between them. They're pretty close together. In order to achieve that, my grip looked more or less like that. Your right hand is never completely gripping the right, the grip. Rather just the two fingers. Very lightly with the fingers, the three other fingers, but your index and your thumb are the most two important digits of your right hand, because ultimately when you drive, they need to almost come a little bit off the bat as such. The left arm is still the steering wheel, so nice and strong left hand grip, always staying strong on the grip, and that is your steering wheel going towards the ball. Your right hand is for the power, but it needs to still be compact. Remember, the right forearm is in contact, not in contact, it's in connection with my blade, almost running parallel to this blade all the time. Even through the shot, I want this right arm to almost be on top of my willow. So very important, guys, right wrist on the right hip to make sure the blade points to first slip more or less. And then I would always think about, with a back lift, get it a little bit up at the point of delivery as soon as the ball's released. But look at that, once again, my forearm is pretty close to my blade already here. And from there, they work together. Look at that, always in line, not there, not completely away, because you'll end up playing it early. If you have the right forearm close to the willow at all times, you will end up playing the right line, and you will always play the ball nice and late. It doesn't matter the line of the ball, you always want this right forearm to work with your willow and to stay in contact with it. Even if you're driving outside off, you want this right arm to almost be on the blade. Look at the kind of positions I get into when I focus on that. The minute you start leaving that right forearm, that's where you start getting yourself into trouble. You start finding the edge, balls start beating you on the inside, because there's no connection between your forearm and the blade. You always want your right forearm to operate with the blade. You'll see Virat Kohli doing this really well. Sometimes he's naughty of pushing at it a little bit outside off. This forearm loses connection with the blade, and that's where you sometimes nick off. Lots of other players struggle with that as well. But if you keep it connected to the blade, your right forearm, you'll always get into those kind of positions. Playing it nice and late, you see the angle of my bat is more or less at 45 degrees, which means the ball's going down into the ground. It's a very strong position to be from, even if you want to do power hitting. So if you're looking for power, sometimes you will release the willow, but remember, the basics still stay the same. You still want this right forearm close to the willow, but keeping it compact just before contact, and then you can release, trying to hit the big shots. But always, people talk about staying in shape and not playing the ball too early, even if you're trying to do boundary hitting. But you still got to do these basics well. Keep that forearm close to the blade, head nice and upright, and at the point of contact, that's where you want to still be in shape, and then you can release and open up these hips to look for a little bit of power. You have to do the basics well first, even with every delivery, even when looking for big shots. The basics need to be spot on. I used to have a little bit of a trigger with my bat as well. So my right wrist I would put on my hip, bat in place, pointing at first slip. I would always have a little bit of a bounce with my blade, because right at the point of delivery, after I've done my trigger movement, which gets me into a good strong position, I'm dead still at the point of delivery. But from here on in, I would bounce it, and the minute the ball's released, that's where I go back and across, and my bat picks up a touch. But the minute my bat picks up, yes, my hand leaves my hip a touch, but look at my forearm. It's in connection with the willow. So right wrist on your hip, little bit of a bounce, back and across, up. Look at that connection. My forearm is ready. Everything is perfectly in place, and I'm ready to play the ball nice and late, compact, with this arm staying in touch with my willow. I hope it works for you. Some really good tips that worked for me over the years, and I got a lot of success from it.